Our lead story, President Cyril Ramaphosa is in the United States of America to meet with his counterpart, Donald Trump. Now, this visit will enable Pretoria and Washington DC to reset the strategic relationship between the two countries. Now, there are a number of issues on the agenda, including trade, investment, geopolitical issues, as well as the genocide claims that have been backed by Trump, despite South African authorities' insistence that there's no political persecution in the country. And we are now joined by SABC News International editor Sophie Mokoena. Sophie, good morning. And we have been waiting for this, but this is, of course, President Cyril Ramaphosa's big meeting with the US President Donald Trump. Let's just take a look at what's to be expected today, the time of the meeting, and all sorts of issues leading up to it.
Well, the meeting, the president will arrive at the White House at 17:30. That greeting there at the door that we are familiar with when heads of state and government or people are visiting President Trump, and that quick photo op. At 17:45, then the president will be inside with the people who are accompanying the president. Perhaps with those people that are invited, they will have lunch. After the lunch at 18:45, our time, then they will go to the famous Oval Office, where they will then again continue behind closed doors, and very few media will be able to go in there to take pictures and perhaps a mini doorstop. That's where journalists will have opportunity to ask a few questions. We don't know. It depends on President Trump how long that will take before they go into that private meeting again. There is no information that there will be a media briefing thereafter, because it is not surprising. This is a working visit. This is not a state visit. It's more of private meeting to iron out some of the issues both countries want to discuss that are critical in terms of the relationship between the two countries, be it trade, be it geopolitics, and that will be the moment to discuss those issues that you have touched on. And we expect that this will be the opportunity for South Africa to talk about trade. That's the priority for South Africa, perhaps to clarify certain misinformation and disinformation, and also the geopolitics.
With that said, though, Sophie, this, of course, comes after a very public dressing down of the Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky when he visited the White House. And there are, of course, fears, concerns that President Ramaphosa might be in for the same, given the contentious issues that are on the agenda.
We don't know what will be President Trump's posture. If you follow the meeting between President Trump and Zelensky, what led to that standoff was a question of what was already on the public domain before he arrived. You would recall there were talks that they were going to sign the rare minerals or minerals agreement, where Ukraine will agree that America can have the minerals from Ukraine. By agreeing to that, America will provide security to its citizens who will be working in those mines. And therefore, that security will be a deterrent in terms of Russia attacking Ukraine. And at that moment, during those negotiations, people were saying this is not possible to seize your mineral rights to a country because they belong to the people, they belong to the country. That process has to go to Parliament. It should be a protracted process. And at that moment, that matter was not presented before the Ukraine parliament. Even when he was in South Africa, Zelensky, I asked him about that. He said, the issue here, you can't just give away minerals of your country without following due processes, the laws of the country. It brings us to the report that there's a deal on the table to agree that Starlink can operate in South Africa. You cannot do that without changing the laws of the country, and that matter will have to go to the South African Parliament. You can have a proposal how you can bring in the involvement of Starlink, but it has to go to Parliament to change the laws of South Africa. I can't see President Ramaphosa taking a decision there before Parliament approves, and therefore he will be more calm when you have some of the issues where he can't make commitment because he has to follow due processes, but rather he would want to say, I will go back and consult. And therefore, that's the only way you can avoid hostile reception. Lastly, on issues of Afrikaners, that can also cause hostile interaction. The president must just stay calm. I think that's what he's going to do, because even Trump and his administration, including the very same Afrikaners who left South Africa, they know very well there's no genocide in South Africa.
Well, thank you so much, SABC News International Editor Sophie Mokoena, with a preview of what's to be expected later today in the big story happening in Washington, D.C.